Go 95.3, I'm Chaz Kangas, and joining me right now, a very special guest. You know him in your hearts as the number one freaked out American loser. He has a brand new album out today called It's Easy to Feel Like a Nobody When You're Living in the City. Milwaukee's favorite son, Juiceboxxx. Juiceboxxx, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for asking. So the new album is out now. And over the course of your career, going from the earlier, more hip-hop, or as you've been called in a few places, a more punk rap side of things, to now dabbling into more things that are closer to the pop-punk endeavors, but all still having the same level of harmony and sharpness in the lyrics. So what is your album creating process like? Do you have numerous styles you work on at once, or numerous potential projects you work on at once, or is it usually just something where it all in capturing certain moments, it all comes together as the one album?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I'm just like constantly writing songs, and this one I just made sort of like a considered choice to focus it on a certain side of the songs I was writing that playing with the band kind of excites me the most right now. So that's like, I've been telling people kind of as a joke, but kind of not, that I wanted to write a record that sounded like Lou Reed meets Blink-182. And, I think that I sort of accomplished it on this one, actually, in some twisted way.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the influence of wanting to play and perform with the band. So I'm wondering, does the live show have an impact when you're writing or recording? Like having that in mind?
It's definitely there because I sort of know how I want something to feel live, I mean, for years back when I was just like doing straight up rap stuff or kind of like dance, hip house almost stuff. I traveled around in a Greyhound bus and I just pressed play on an iPod, and usually I was blasting through very cheap punk rock basement speakers. And there's a way that informed how I wrote music back then, And now that I go on these bigger support tours or whatever it is, I kind of just like feel the challenge to write music that feels like a little bit bigger and it's like for a little bit bigger rooms or whatever.
All right, and speaking of big rooms, the first single from the album was In the Basement, which has a very cool video showing a lot of the different aesthetics of the punk look within that same sort of Penelope Spheris style, downfall of Western civilization, just punk shooting. So where did the concept for the video come from?
Well, it's kind of funny. At one point it dawned on me that in some misguided attempt at spiritual cleansing, I should try to dress up as all these punk rock archetypes that I've sort of interfaced with throughout my life. It's funny, I never fully drank the Kool-Aid on any one subculture. I'm rare that I've spent my whole life in underground music and I don't have any tattoos. But I started going to shows like when I was 13. So these are all characters that are very near and dear to my heart. And it felt like, for me to process the life spent essentially like in subculture, it felt like it would be sort of significant to dress up like these kind of archetypes and sort of play around in that space. And it's, it's supposed to be funny, but it's very sincere in the fact that I think that of this stuff like through a spiritual lens. I know that sounds like kind of pretentious, but I didn't really grow up religious, so like I think in some ways American subculture filled that void for me in some abstract way.
Definitely, the video does feel having a warmness to it because it's clearly not like a cynical probing or a mocking send-up of it. Like the sincerity and the details that you took to it really shines through.
Yeah, and I had my friend Soren, who was a longtime punk. He did my hair and did most of the clothing choices, and he just went back to his parents' house and pulled some stuff out of storage. That was a lot of the styling choices. So it's definitely coming from that leather jacket I'm wearing. That was definitely worn by like a teenager for many years going to punk shows.
Nice, it's well worn. You can't fake that experience. So,
Nope.
So you're from Milwaukee originally, and now you're living in Brooklyn, correct?
Yeah.
So did that have an influence and impact for the title that it's easy to feel like a nobody when you're living in the city?
Yeah, I mean, on some level, it just feels like, like the record, one of the things tying together the record thematically is that it's just about somebody kind of like stumbling through life, trying to just keep their bearings. You know what I mean? And as somebody who's lived in cities of various sizes, that's sort of what ties together my experience, Coinstar song is sort of it's like a song of the record about going to a Coinstar machine. And, I went to Coinstar machines in Milwaukee. I went to Coinstar machines in Los Angeles. I went to Coinstar machines in New York. There's some things that tie together my urban experiences regardless of where it is. And it's just more about just like, being a kid and trying to navigate all of this and just like essentially trying to like make it to the next day. I mean, I feel a little bit more stable. I'm a bit older now, but you know, with that said, I'm still taking it one day at a time. So like, you know, when I play these songs, it feels pretty emotional.
Nice. So finally, a very New York question for you. Was the cover shot at the Kellogg Diner?
No, it's funny. I mean, I live fairly close to Kellogg's, but we actually went out. You know, I have this funny thing where, like, when I shoot videos or I shoot photos, like, I like to get out of New York because I feel like everybody's doing their photo shoots in New York. I don't really identify. I mean, I love New York, but I don't really identify as a New Yorker. I don't necessarily know how long I would have to live in New York for me to do that. Definitely, like, probably several decades on some level. But, you know, we went out to Jersey and we found a great diner called the TikTok Diner. And, yeah, like me and the photographer spent an entire day location scouting diners in Jersey, and that's the one we settled on.
I've actually been to that TikTok Diner, and it is such a superior diner to the Kellogg Diner, so I'm kind of relieved to hear that.
Amazing. Yeah, no, the Jersey, I think that, you know, like, it's you're a little less squeezed out in Jersey, so everything could be a little bit more luxurious.
Yep, yeah, and a little more the authentic, like, diner experience to it, a little more to offer. And
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's why I like Jersey is because, you know, it feels more like the rest of America than New York City.
Yep, gotta love it. The little piece of everywhere else near New York. So,
yeah.
Once again, the album is out today. It's easy to feel like a nobody when you're living in the city. Juiceboxx, thanks again so much, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for having me.